Welcome back, CSE 235 class, or any CSE 103 people that stuck around for part 6. This is Rock, Paper, Scissors, Spring 2018. This is part 6, the very last part, and we're just going to reset this thing. Now that we know how to disable these buttons, we want to be able to enable them if we want to, and kind of reset the game and start over. So that will mean a couple things. That will mean actually resetting the points. That'll mean showing a button, because we don't have a button here right now. And it'll also be kind of enabling these. So let's get a button first. First thing, we don't have a button to reset. So we can't do anything without a reset button. So let's go up here to our buttons. I'll make this smaller. I'll copy just my last button, which is the pick scissors. I'll copy that and I'll paste it. And I'm going to actually give it a function right away called reset. And I don't need any capital letters because it's just one word. And I'm going to say that ID reset button, and I'm going to be consistent because I called all the other ones BTN with their ID, so I'll make sure I do that. And it's not going to be called scissors, it's going to be called reset. And there it is. Now it's getting covered up because it's off to the side. I could always make a little less space in between the buttons with my CSS. Matter of fact, let me do that right now. Button, let me make it 16 pixels. I'll just shorten the space a little bit to the right. So that's all I need. I have a new button now. Now initially it's going to be invisible. So I can do that with my CSS, or instead of doing that, maybe I'll do it with my JavaScript. So let's go to my JavaScript at the beginning, and before all my functions, right after the variable, what I'll do, I'll just copy one of these things. Doesn't matter which one. Actually, what I should do is I should copy one of the ones that have button. Here's a button, and I'll copy this. And I'll put it before I'll put it up with my variables. So I'll go find where my variables end. And I'll say document get element by ID, and I'll say document get element by ID, and it's going to be reset button, and it's going to be opacity equals 0. And that should make it go away. Opacity dot, oh, it's style dot opacity. Didn't work there. It's style dot opacity, so that should go away. There it goes. Finally went away. So it's style dot opacity equals 0. So I can use JavaScript to hide the button. I could use CSS as well, but this is the CSS, so I'm just telling JavaScript to do it. And when it runs the JavaScript, it does that. Keep in mind, if it was an HTML page and you had JavaScript turned off, it wouldn't do that, but then it wouldn't be much of a game either. All right, so that's done. So we have it. Now we want it actually to display once the game's over. All right, so let's copy this because we know we're going to need this again. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. And the only time that reset button is going to come up is actually when we're all done. And we're going to put it right here. So we're going to put it here. And we're going to set it to 1. That means it's going to come back if you get the 3 points. And then after this one, it's going to come back after the computer gets the 3 points. Either way. So it's going to come back at the end when the game's over. So that'll bring the reset button. Now what we do not have is we don't have a function for the reset button. So we're going to have, look at all these functions. This is some serious coding here. We're going to have one more function that's going to basically reset everything. So let's make a function that resets everything. So, and we'll call it reset because we already gave it a name, reset, and we just have to give it its parentheses. And what's going to happen when we reset the button? It's going to make a couple things. Let's copy all this because it's going to do a lot of that stuff. It's going to be mess.innerHTML is going to be nothing because it's going to wipe that out. So that's good. So it won't say anything down here. Style.color, I don't think you have to change it, but if we wanted to, we could just make it black because that would kind of reset it. I don't think we need this, but we could set it. Now all these disabled, the buttons will now be false because they'll be enabled. So this will all be, and make sure you type this right. So now all the buttons will now be enabled, and the reset button will now go away because if you reset it, you don't need the reset button. The reset button only pops up when you don't need it. So let me do that. And I think we have it set up. So we have a reset button, and we'll see if we need anything else. I think it should also, reset should also make these other things go away. And also our points have to get reset, so there's a couple things we have to do here. Let's find our points. Let's make sure our points go back to 0. We'll make sure y points equal 0, so that'll kind of reset them. And c points will equal 0, so that's setting them back to 0. And also our images will have to go back to what they were. So we have to find, here's our statements of the C choice and the Y choice. We want them to be blank again, and we'll have to put them here. So look at all this stuff that has to get reset. Now how do we reset them? Just put them blank, because they're make sure, well, get the stuff out of there first. Delete and then put the quote. So empty strings in there, we'll make them both empty strings. Now they'll wipe out these. I think they'll wipe out these things too, but I didn't really want these there. They were just there temporarily. So I don't even need those. Let me just get rid of them. I don't need those image things. They were just there just to show me where the images were going to be. I didn't really want them there. Unless you find something that helps being there. You could even put a blue box or something. I think one time I used a blue box or something. So people knew that there was going to be something to be there. You'll find out more as you test it. But our reset, look at all this stuff for reset. It seems like a lot, but it's all kind of makes sense. We're just setting everything back to nothing. Our messages to nothing, our message colors back to black, which I don't think we need. Our rock button, paper button, scissors button are disabled, or they're enabled, because disabled is false, the double negative there, so they'll be enabled. The reset button is going to be back to 0, so you won't see it. And so this is the way it's going to all end up. And the points will start back at 0 again, and this stuff will be 0. So let's see how this works. I'll save it, and let's start off here. Let's play the game. And that's just because we're kind of computer wins, you win, game over, you lose. Let's see if the reset works. It works. So that's it. That works. Didn't take that long to do. And again, we had to make a reset function that resets everything. We had to make a reset button. We had to make sure we had a reset button that is running the reset function, and that has an ID, so you could tell it to hide or not. We used some JavaScript to hide it by telling it style.opacity to get down to 0. That was right after the variables. I know you're going to want to look at some of this stuff, so let me just go back. That way you could stop the video. If you're watching the video, here's all my variables of my JavaScript starting there. So if you need to see something that you missed, I'll just go through this quick. Here's all my variables. Here's the thing that made the button disappear initially. Here's my pick rock function. I can't see all of it, but you see most of it. There's my pick rock. There's the bottom of it. And here's my pick paper function. There's most of it. Just missing the else a little bit at the bottom, but at least you could stop the video there. And here's the bottom of it. Oh, the bottom should be the same on all three, so it shouldn't matter. And here's my pick scissors function. Again, the bottom should be the same as your other ones. So if you just need to check it, you could stop the video here. And here's my checkpoints. If you need to stop the video here and look at that, I think you just have to make sure. Actually, make these other things go away more. Actually, if I change my view, that might help a little. Might give me a little more room. Here's my checkpoints function if you wanted to look at that. There it is. So if you want to stop the video and check it out, that's what I had for that. And then here's my reset button if you wanted to stop the video and look at that. That's what I had. One other thing if you want to do, I'll just do one last thing before we stop here. And I'll do one other Google Fonts thing. I'll go here to Assets. I'll go to Google Fonts. It should open up in a new window. And let's say I wanted to use a cool serif font. I'll turn off these. Go to a cool serif font. I did this before, but let me do it one more time. I'll do a cool serif font like Roboto Slab. And here it is. And maybe I want to check out the bold 700. And there it is. I like that. Maybe I'll use that for my heading. And I'll hit the plus sign. I'm in Google Fonts. And here it is. I'll go here. And to embed your font, here's the font family. Let me copy that. I'll copy that. I'll go back to my thing. Now, where do I want font family? I actually want it for my H1. So let me put it here after body because that's second. I'll do my H1 and my H2. Maybe I'll do H2. We'll put them both in them. I'll do comma. That means I could target both. and I'll just paste font family, Roboto Slab, serif. That's fine. If it doesn't have Roboto Slab, it'll use Times, because that's what it was using. So that's fine. And if I want to use some color, I can add a color there. But again, it's not going to work until I go here and I use the import. And I want to just copy, not the style tag, that's only if it's in your HTML. I want to copy this. Now, you could really combine this with your other one, but I think for now, just for the sake of you could just put a second one here. You probably, for being, and I'll close this up. For the sake of being more efficient, you should probably have these all together. I think they use a vertical slash in between them and stuff like that, but like I think you could do this. I think you could literally, wait, that's using a double quote. This is using a single. I just have to be careful here. Let me just copy this. I think you could do something like this, like that. I think you could do that, and it'll let, yeah, there it is. So that's working. So I think if you're using more than one font, you could put that in there. Then I don't have to have two imports in here. So I'll just get rid of that. Make sure it still works. So that way it's kind of working there. I'll stretch it out. That could be on its own line, I guess. Or maybe not. There, what did I do? Oh, I took out the question mark. There was a question mark there. Okay. I didn't know what I did there. I guess I backspaced over the question mark. Well, good to know. Good to know that if I put the question mark back in there, that's what did. I didn't know what I was doing there. I thought the space was doing it. So, oh, good thing I screwed that up, because now I know. So that's working okay. And then if I did it, it's going to show these things in that same font, which looks nice. And maybe you want your heading font a little different. So now here's one thing, just to warn you before we stop. We already specified these to be a certain color. So if we put these here, they could override, although I think the ID would override that more. Let's just try it out. Let's say if I put color and I just went to assets, I just want to make sure that whatever color I put here, since it's including H2, it doesn't override my H2. So let me go to colors, and I'll just choose like a nice purple. We're not doing SpongeBob anymore. There's a nice kind of purple color, and I'll just go here and paste it and put a semicolon, close this up, and that should show up in the color. And if I go through these, this color shouldn't do anything, because I think our IDs, our mess ID that we have for that, our message ID will override this H2 here. So that'll override that. So that's okay. So that looks okay. It's a little more colorful, and I think we're done. So that's all we have to do. Make sure you save. Make sure you can copy the URL, add it to your comments, or just leave it in there. If I'm already aware of how to get to your pens, I'll just go and find it. But that's the end of part 6 of RPS. Rock, paper, scissors. Did a lot of things in here, a lot of good stuff with JavaScript. Hopefully it helped you learn a lot more about JavaScript, in addition to some HTML and CSS that we had in there too, all working together.